Goodbye, world. It was nice knowing you, son. Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you. Yes, you. The one watching, the one listening, thank you very much for shooting that thumbs up, hitting subscribe, sharing the video out, doing all the crazy stuff y'all do here on the internet. Thank you very much. So, if there's a secret to keeping a shirt from wrinkling, I obviously don't know it. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm self-aware. I know this shirt looks like crap. For those that were asking, a lot of comments came in on yesterday's video. Some agree, some disagree. I totally respect all the opinions there. But for the ones that were asking, how I'm politically affiliated, number one, welcome to the channel. Glad you're here. I'm a libertarian. I don't like the two-party system in general. I think it's a huge scam. I think it divides and conquers the United States. But whatever. I digress. I appreciate those comments yesterday. So, we should be live tomorrow. Let me throw that in real quick. That's the plan, at least. So this morning, we are apparently talking about the end of the world, nukes. You just never know from day to day what you're going to be talking about here on YouTube, or at least I don't. But again, I'm sitting here in a viciously wrinkled shirt, son. Nukes are imminent. This news story broke from North Korea earlier this week. It's been several days back now, where they're openly threatening the United States with nukes. They're saying it's the only option left. We're going to nuke the United States of America. And of course, many creators, I feel like I should be wearing a Canadian hat as I say this, but I digress. Many creators, bigger creators here on YouTube ran with that story. Why not? It draws in eyeballs. Lots of eyeballs. You start talking about nukes, hence the thumbnail art and stuff like that this morning, right? People gravitate to those stories because they're petrified. The idea of nukes being thrown around. Of course, creators are going to run with it, but forgive me for not being afraid this morning when it comes to North Korea and its threats of nuking the United States. I place zero concern, zero faith in any of the threats that North Korea throws out because they throw out so many. I'm going to go down the list real quick. These threats have been thrown out over the past, just prior to Trump taking office up until now, okay? They've threatened U.S. theaters in the past. They constantly churn out propaganda films in which they destroy the White House. In 2019, North Korea promised America Christmas gifts and went on to say, it depends on the United States what kind of Christmas gifts they're going to get. They threatened America with the greatest pain at one point in time while they were testing missiles. They've said not just recently, but in the past year or so, that nuking America is the only option left. And they have threatened to nuke Guam. And again, this is just in the past handful of years. North Korea is constantly threatening the United States. This is literally what they do. North Korea's leadership, they answer to the military machine, to the generals of North Korea, for anybody that doesn't know. And I think these bigger creators know this. But again, it draws eyeballs. I get it. You got to sell stuff, I guess. The leaders of North Korea, they have to talk a big game. They have to appear very, very strong. Otherwise, they get removed from power. This is the political dynamic in North Korea. You talk a big game all of the time. You have to impress your generals. Otherwise, they're going to black hole you somewhere, so to speak. So this isn't anything new. Being threatened with nukes by North Korea, this is not anything new. Most of the things that they have fired off have ended in disaster, missed their target entirely, and just ended horribly for North Korea. I mean, it makes them look really bad when you get right down to it. To the point where islands in that region, Japan, to give you one example, they always go on high alert because they never know where these missiles are actually going to land. The technology North Korea has, and of course, they continue to work on it, but it's nowhere near a major superpower in terms of nukes and things like this. And yet, the prepping community has now once again been whipped into a panic. It always happens. Every time North Korea, sometimes Russia as well, but usually it's North Korea, the mouthpiece of China, right? Every time they mention nukes, bigger creators grab it, they run with it, they beat the drum of fear for a week or so, 4 eyeballs. Lots of people gravitate toward it, they leave scared to death. And the question is why? Why do people fear this so much? I get it, nukes are nasty, nukes are a reality, but why are people so afraid of this? It just doesn't feel like an immediate threat to me, especially, again, coming from North Korea. Right now, food inflation is sitting at 8.8%. That's the number that the government has thrown out there. I personally believe this number is twice that, at least. I don't think we're being told the truth about food inflation, but I digress. Climate lockdowns are now reality. They are beginning to happen in other areas of the world. And guess what, folks? The plan is for them to take place here in the United States as well at some point. I mean, it's coming. Climate lockdowns are coming to some degree. As Americans, we are now being told to eat bugs in order to save the planet. Just let that sink in. I would think that this kind of stuff and the political chaos that we were just talking about it yesterday with civil war. I would think that this list of things would be more important than empty threats coming out of North Korea. I don't understand why people are so concerned about the idle threats from North Korea, and they're paying so much for groceries right now. I would think that's where everybody's focus would be. At least that's where my focus is at. So this morning, I'm going to implore you. I'm pulling out the big words, son. I'm going to implore you to sit down, prioritize the threats. The stuff that you see on TV, the stuff that you see on YouTube or YouTube TV, whatever they're calling it now on the Roku. Prioritize things. You know, when you get right down to it, are you more afraid of aliens or gun confiscation? You know, the Second Amendment going away. Because for me, my priorities are on the Second Amendment. I think that's a much more immediate threat. I'm not saying aliens will never happen, but again, spotting a few UFOs and a couple classified documents coming out of the Pentagon versus politicians openly trying to take your firearms away, I would think that people would be more concerned about that. Are you more worried about nukes coming from North Korea when they can't seem to get anything right, militarily speaking, or the cost of living, something that we wake up to every single day, something that families are sitting around the table every payday and they're trying to figure out how to make things work? Where can we pull money from in order to pay the extra money that food now costs? That's a more immediate threat to me, in terms of my family. When you get right down to it, I don't care how rich you are. I do care if you know how to not have wrinkled shirts. Let me know if you know how to do that. I don't care how much money you have, how rich you are, how prepared you are, how organized you are. You cannot prepare for every single scenario that's going to pop up. Our own government can't prepare for every single scenario that's going to pop up. And they got contingency plans for zombies, literally, and aliens. But there are going to be things that pop up that you're just not prepared for. And you cannot live in a constant state of fear. And that's what I see when I go to, because I check them out. You know, I see these clickbaity titles and the thumbnail art and, oh my God, it's over. We're done. Humanity's done. Okay, what are we talking about? So I click it and I see these comments. These people are scared to death. They've had the daylight scared out of them, right? It's a grift, but we all know that. These people are scared to death. And it's just not a place where you want to be as a prepper. You do not want to sit there and perpetually, another big word, be in fear all the time. That perpetual state of fear. It's ridiculous. Who wants to live that way? You can't live that way. I mean, I guess you can, but who wants to? What kind of life is that? To spend every waking moment and every red penny that Joe hasn't thieved out of your back pocket trying to prepare for things that are probably never going to be a reality, at least in our lifetime. But fear sells. That's for sure. A lot of companies making a lot of bank right now. I know because they reach out. They send me stuff to the P.O. box. You know, can you sell this for us? Can we run a 30-second advertisement? Fear sells. And a lot of people are getting rich off of this fear. But I'm over here, wrinkled shirt and all. It's bothering me, y'all. I ain't going to lie to you about it. I'm over here trying to be the voice of reason. All right. I'm trying to calm people down a little bit. All right. Because I think you need to be calm as a prepper. We've said this before. You don't prep out of panic and you don't prep out of fear. Mistakes will be made and money will be spent on useless junk when you get right down to it. You have to prepare with purpose. Focus on the immediate threats. Let me give you an analogy real quick. Some of y'all are into, shall we say, guns. I ain't even going to sugarcoat it. So if the world breaks out into total chaos and you have many, many threats out here and they may be coming your way and you're sitting out on the deck, you've got a nice scope. It's already dialed in. You've got some ammo cans beside you. What are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on the mob that is 100 yards away from your house at that point? Or are you going to focus on the mobs that you're hearing about may actually be coming to fruition at some point in New York City? You understand? Why are people focused on things that aren't actually happening? And even if they do, there's a very good chance you're not even going to be affected by this. And you're not focused on stuff that is right in front of you. You get what I'm trying to say this morning? We need to focus on the immediate threats. We need to sit down. We need to prioritize what's immediately affecting us. What's affecting us right now? What's putting myself and my family in harm's way right now, or our civil liberties even, versus hypotheticals that are meant to scare the piss out of you. We have to get into this routine in the prepping community, folks. And many of you are. I'm not trying to lecture you this morning, but just in case you aren't, we need to get into this mindset where we're able to separate reality from fantasy. Because right now, nukes dropping all over the place. I mean, it could happen, but right now it's more fantasy than anything else. People talk a lot about EMPs, and people it's like a black hole where people dump money because they're so worried about EMPs as well. We've never had a widespread EMP. We've never had nukes drop all over the United States. Okay? Again, it could happen for sure. Anything can happen, right? I could wake up tomorrow morning and all of a sudden my shirts aren't wrinkled anymore. It's bothering me. Sorry, y'all, but seriously, you've got to separate reality and fantasy, okay? You've got to be able to sit down and say, grocery prices have went way up. Where can we pull money? How can we make, ends meet? And as a few of you pointed out yesterday, these were excellent comments. Your prepping is actually helping you. Because you've prepped food prior, now you're able to make up for that shortfall and you're able to beat the inflation. That kind of stuff matters a whole lot more than prepping for fantasy. I consider it to be fantasy until it actually becomes a reality. Ask yourself, what is going to protect myself and my family right now? How are we going to get around the potential lockdowns that are coming? How are we going to beat inflation? How are we going to do these things? It may be a matter of getting involved in your local area, your local community, getting politically involved. Some of you may decide, hey, I'm going to run for a political office locally or something like that. Get involved with your schools, as opposed to being focused on the newest, shiniest fantasy thread over here that's pulling millions of eyeballs. It's crazy. Prioritize and prep and stack accordingly. That's the message I have this morning. Again, folks, we should be live tomorrow morning. Hopefully I'll see y'all there. Take care and God bless.